The galaxy is vast, cold, and indifferent. Billions of worlds spun in silence, each humming its own story, oblivious to the moral weight of the universe. Until one whisper reached Earth. A message, fragmented and urgent, hidden in layers of intercepted transmissions, carried a truth too terrible to ignore. Children, millions of them enslaved, harvested for labor, for sport, for experimentation across dozens of star systems. They were stolen from their homes, their cries lost in the void, their lives reduced to numbers in the ledgers of merciless alien overlords. On Earth, the revelation landed like a meteor striking the ocean, a single point of impact that rippled across nations, governments, corporations, and ordinary people alike. From the capitals of Washington to the sprawling cities of New York and Los Angeles, anger brewed in kitchens, council chambers, and dorm rooms. And it was just the beginning. Humanity had always prided itself on its compassion, its moral compass, however flawed. But now, confronted with an atrocity so vast, so intimate in its cruelty, that pride ignited into a fury that would not be contained. The first message arrived at 3:17 Universal Time, coordinated in a quiet lab buried beneath the Washington Federal Research Complex. Dr. Evelyn Hart, the lead analyst for the Interstellar Observation Network, stared at her terminal, the glow illuminating her tense features. She was used to anomalies, glitches in quantum calms, lost signals from distant colonies, but this was different. "Are you seeing this?" she whispered, her voice trembling. Beside her, Lieutenant Jason Mallory leaned in, dark eyes reflecting the cascade of encrypted transmissions. "It looks like a census," he said slowly. "But it's not a census of planets or resources. It's a census of children." Evelyn shook her head. "No, not children, enslaved. They're tracking numbers, ages, locations. They're cataloging them for work." Her fingers hovered over the console, unwilling to commit to the commands that would decode the rest. The data spilled across her screen in waves of horrifying clarity, reports from sectors 23 through 87 detailed children being forced into labor in asteroid mines, genetically modified factories, even gladiatorial arenas for entertainment. Notes in alien tongues, some translated, some not listed, survival rates, compliance metrics, and mortality statistics. Jason's hand trembled. "This is a crime against everything we stand for. Against humanity itself. How do we even?" Evelyn cut him off. "We alert the Council. We can't wait." By midday, the United Nations Emergency Council convened a special session. President Clara Reynolds, a stern woman known for her calm resolve, listened as Dr. Hart presented the intercepted transmissions. The holographic display of star systems, each blinking with points representing enslaved children, filled the chamber with an eerie luminescence. "This is beyond comprehension," President Reynolds said quietly. Then her voice hardened. "Earth does not stand for this. Humanity cannot allow this to continue." The room erupted. Delegates shouted over one another, some arguing for diplomacy, others for immediate military intervention. Outside the chambers, across the planet, newsfeeds broadcast the revelations. Social media exploded with outrage. Children, women, men, everyone felt the sting of betrayal by the galaxy that had long claimed superiority over Earth's primitive morality. In New York, street protests erupted. In Los Angeles, artists painted murals depicting children breaking free from chains. In Chicago, ordinary citizens gathered around massive screens showing the holographic star maps, pointing to every system where the children suffered. The rage was unanimous. And yet, behind the scenes, a darker truth began to emerge: the enslavers were organized, entrenched, and armed with technology far beyond anything Earth had seen. Any naive attempt at direct assault could risk catastrophic retaliation. In a hidden war room, General Marcus Vance, head of Earth's Space Defense Force, studied the communications. "These aren't just labor camps," he said grimly. "They're fortified installations. We're looking at entire systems under lock and key. And the moment we strike, they'll know it was us." Evelyn Hart, standing beside him, clenched her jaw. "Do we wait? Do we?" "We don't," Marcus interrupted. "We mobilize." By nightfall, Earth's orbit shimmered with a fleet of battleships, their engines thrumming with barely contained power. Humanity's fury had found its vessel, its form. And it was merciless. From the void, the alien overlords, never expecting a species to care so deeply for another's suffering, felt a ripple of fear. Across the galaxy, whispers spread, Earth knows. And when Earth knew, it did not wait. The first light of Earth's dawn reflected off the hulls of the orbital fleet like fire glinting on steel. Thousands of ships, sleek and deadly, moved in calculated formation above the blue and green planet. Humanity's resolve had crystallized into action. The enslaved children of the galaxy would not be ignored. Not anymore. Admiral Lillian Grant stood on the command bridge of the USS Liberty, the flagship of the newly mobilized Earth fleet. Her eyes, sharp and haunted, scanned the holographic star maps. Each blinking red point marked a system where children were kept in chains. Some were labor camps, others gladiatorial arenas, some experimental laboratories where young lives were dissected for knowledge that would never serve them. Admiral, comms from command, reported Lieutenant Marcus Chen, voice tight with tension. They're asking for a status report. The Council wants a target for the first strike. Lillian's jaw tightened. Prepare the coordinates for Sector 47. It's a mining complex in the Trivera system. Thousands of children. Their captors have anti-orbital shields, but nothing that Earth ingenuity can't overcome. Ready the deployment teams. Meanwhile, deep in the political chambers of Earth, President Clara Reynolds faced the greatest moral weight of her career. She had authorized action, yet the images of the children haunted her. Holographic feeds showed them, confined in tight quarters, forced into work under alien overseers who treated them as disposable. The thought of the inevitable casualties from a military strike made her stomach churn. We have to be precise, she said, voice low but firm. Every effort must be made to protect the innocent. Dr. Evelyn Hart, standing beside her, nodded grimly. We've decrypted some of their protocols. The camps have automated defenses. The children are treated like data points. If we act quickly, we can disrupt the chain before they react. Hours later, the fleet emerged from hyperspace, suspended above the Trivera system like a storm ready to break. The orbital shields of the complex flared, alien energy cutting through the void in violent arcs. The children, sensing the chaos around them, clung to one another, their faces etched with fear and disbelief. Deploy the drones, Lillian commanded. Target the shield generators. Minimize collateral damage. The attack began with precision strikes, explosions blooming across the asteroid surface, sending shards of metal and stone into orbit. Automated alien defense units retaliated, lances of plasma slicing through the dark vacuum. Yet Earth's forces pressed on, every decision measured, every maneuver calculated. On the surface, the enslaved children stumbled and ran, confusion and hope warring in their eyes. Soldiers trained in rapid insertion descended, armed not just with weaponry but with the knowledge of rescue, carrying medkits, water, and blankets alongside their rifles. For the first time, the children felt the presence of someone fighting for them, and some dared to believe they might survive. In the heat of battle, Lillian felt a pang of doubt. The children were the reason they were here, but death, even unintended, was unavoidable. One of the drones misfired, detonating near a holding pen. Screams echoed through comm channels and her own comm system. Her hand trembled on the control panel. Abort that section, she barked, heart hammering. I don't care what the Council says, stop it. The fleet responded instantly, reprogramming drones mid-flight, diverting fire. But the alien overlords were not passive. They unleashed a counterattack, warships materializing from hidden hyperspace lanes, lasers burning across the void with terrifying precision. Earth's fleet, though formidable, was untested in real combat. Jason Mallory, now aboard the Liberty, coordinated the countermeasures. They're faster than expected. Shields won't hold if they focus fire. Evelyn Hart, monitoring energy signatures, yelled, redirect power to forward arrays. Concentrate fire on their capital ship, it's the command hub. The battle raged for hours. Explosions illuminated the darkness, ships spinning and twisting as they attempted maneuvers near the asteroid belt. And yet, despite the fury, the human soldiers never lost sight of their purpose. The children, they were fighting for them, too. In the corridors of the mining complex, a small group of captors realized their defenses were collapsing. Panic rippled through their ranks, and in their scramble, many fled into tunnels, abandoning the children. One young boy, no older than 10, grabbed another's hand and whispered, "It's them, they came for us." By the time Earth forces secured the complex, the surviving children were exhausted, terrified, but alive. Medical teams swarmed through, tending to injuries and shock. Lillian walked through the camps, her boots crunching over debris and alien machinery. Children huddled in corners, watching her, their eyes wide with a mix of hope and disbelief. "This is just the beginning," she whispered, more to herself than anyone else. "We have to keep going." Back on the Liberty, the victory felt hollow. Thousands more children were still enslaved across countless systems. The council convened again, debating strategy, but the debate was overshadowed by the anger spreading through Earth's populace. Citizens had begun to rally, demanding action, broadcasting messages of support to the fleet, even attempting grassroots campaigns to pressure governments to escalate. Humanity was no longer silent. And somewhere in the void, the alien overlords realized that Earth was not like other species. Fear, rage, and moral outrage were driving human action, and this was unlike anything they had ever faced. Entire fleets that had once terrorized smaller civilizations now hesitated, unsure how to respond to a species capable of both strategic brilliance and unyielding fury. President Reynolds, observing the operation through a live feed, finally allowed herself a moment to breathe. The scale of the operation, the precision, and the lives saved, it was more than she had hoped. And yet, she knew the galaxy had been fundamentally changed. Earth's declaration of war against the enslavement of children was not just a military maneuver, it was a moral reckoning. At night, when the combat reports were filed and the children were finally resting under Earth's care, Lillian Grant stood alone on the bridge, staring into the void. The stars seemed quieter now, almost respectful, or perhaps just wary. "They think they can enslave innocents without consequence," she muttered. They were wrong. Evelyn Hart joined her quietly. "The galaxy has no idea what's coming next." "No," Lillian agreed, her voice a low growl. "And they will remember it. Every system. Every world." The first strike had been a warning. Earth's wrath had begun, and the galaxy had felt its first tremor. It was a storm of fire and moral fury, and there was no turning back. Above the Trivera system, the last of the alien resistance collapsed, and Earth's fleet regrouped. In the shadows beyond, other overlords watched, calculating. They underestimated humanity at their peril. Because humanity fought not just with technology, but with the kind of rage that comes from realizing a universal truth: some crimes cannot go unanswered. And when Earth burned with that fury, the galaxy itself would learn to fear the moral fire of an entire species. The galaxy had grown quiet. Not peaceful, never peaceful, but wary. Every system with a human presence now understood that Earth was no longer a minor player, no longer a cautious observer of interstellar politics. Humanity had tasted injustice and fury in its purest form, and the echo of that fury resonated across the stars. Admiral Lillian Grant stood on the bridge of the USS Liberty, staring at the massive holographic map of the galaxy. Red points of enslaved children had dwindled in Trivera, but elsewhere the numbers still glowed like sores across the fabric of space. The first strike had been surgical, effective, but far from enough. "This is just the beginning," she murmured, echoing the words she had spoken before. Lieutenant Jason Mallory leaned over her shoulder. "We have intelligence of the Arindra system. Over 3 million children. Entire fleets guarding the orbital rings. They're overlords, these aren't just mercenaries, they're elite. Highly trained, brutal, and armed with weapons we've barely seen before." Lillian's gaze hardened. "Then we'll show them Earth doesn't negotiate with slavery." On Earth, President Clara Reynolds addressed the planet in a broadcast unlike any before. Screens across continents displayed her face, calm but firm, her eyes alight with determination. "The galaxy has committed atrocities against the innocent. We have begun to rectify them. No child will remain in chains if we can prevent it. Humanity does not act lightly, but we act decisively. The enslavers of the galaxy will know the cost of their cruelty." Her words ignited a new wave of fervor. Citizens rallied not only in support of the fleet but also in preparation to aid the rescued children, medical teams, educators, volunteers, everyone offering their strength. For the first time in history, the collective moral will of an entire planet had focused outward, and it was unstoppable. The assault on the Arindra system began in silence. Hyperspace corridors shimmered as the Earth fleet entered, engines humming with quiet menace. Thousands of soldiers, elite task forces trained in rescue and combat, prepared for deployment. Drones scouted the orbital rings, mapping defenses and calculating vulnerabilities. Admiral Grant's hand hovered over the command panel. The first strike was always the most dangerous. Every decision carried the lives of millions. She swallowed hard and gave the order, engage. Fire erupted across the void. Alien warships responded with overwhelming force, plasma lances cutting through the darkness like rivers of light. Explosions rippled across the asteroid belts, illuminating the enslaved children below in stark, unyielding bursts of fire. And yet, the human forces pressed forward. Drones neutralized shield generators, soldiers infiltrated orbital stations, and rescue units moved swiftly to evacuate the children. Every moment was a gamble, every action carried risk. On the surface, young captives ran through shattered corridors, some screaming in terror, others in disbelief that freedom had arrived. One girl, no older than 12, clutched the hand of a small boy and whispered, Are they really here to save us?" A soldier, kneeling to meet their eyes, nodded. "Yes. We're not leaving anyone behind." But the overlords were cunning. They had anticipated the retaliation and unleashed a devastating counterattack. Entire sections of the human fleet were caught in ambushes. Ships spiraled into debris fields, explosions shook the void. The USS Liberty shuddered as plasma lances grazed its hull. Admiral Grant gritted her teeth. "Divert all power to forward shields. Countermeasures deploy." Even in the chaos, humanity's moral clarity shone. Soldiers paused mid-battle to rescue children trapped in collapsing stations, engineers risked their lives to reroute power to life support modules, and medics ran toward the wounded despite incoming fire. For every action driven by strategy, another was driven by conscience. It was the human spirit in its rawest form, a force the galaxy had not accounted for. After what felt like an eternity, the final stronghold fell. Over 3 million children were freed, trembling, crying, clinging to one another. Many were lost, casualties of the battle, but the majority were alive, and the galaxy had witnessed something unprecedented, the moral weight of an entire species reshaping the course of history. Admiral Grant surveyed the aftermath. Ships hovered in orbit, drones scanned for survivors, and soldiers moved through the camps, assisting where they could. The children, dazed and frightened, looked to her and the other humans with wide, uncomprehending eyes. "They'll be okay," she whispered softly, almost to herself. "We've saved them." Back on Earth, President Reynolds addressed the world again. This time, there was relief, but it was tempered with solemnity. The battle had cost lives, and the galaxy was now aware that humanity would act on moral outrage with precision and force. "Today, we have shown that injustice cannot stand," she said. "The enslavers of the galaxy have been reminded that some crimes cannot go unanswered. But let this also be a moment of reflection. The work of protecting the innocent does not end with victory. It continues every day, in every corner of our world and beyond." Across the stars, other civilizations had watched in awe and fear. Some pledged allegiance to Earth's moral cause, while others retreated into hiding, calculating the consequences of underestimating a planet united by conscience and fury. Admiral Grant and Evelyn Hart stood together on the deck of the Liberty, looking out at the quiet aftermath of the battle. The galaxy, it seemed, was holding its breath. "We've done what we came to do," Evelyn said, voice soft. "But there's more out there. Systems still in chains. Children still waiting." Lillian's gaze hardened, eyes scanning the void. "Then we continue. Earth doesn't stop. Not until every child is free. Not until the galaxy learns the cost of cruelty." A silence fell over them, heavy with both exhaustion and determination. The stars seemed brighter now, not because of the explosions or the fleet, but because of what humanity had proven, that courage, morality, and fury could shape destiny. Somewhere, deep in the void, the alien overlords whispered in disbelief. They had underestimated humanity's capacity for wrath, and the galaxy would never be the same. For Earth had found its voice, and it was a voice forged from the screams of the oppressed and the rage of the righteous. And when that voice rose, it burned brighter than any star, illuminating the dark reaches of the cosmos, and leaving an indelible mark on every world. Humanity had acted. The children